Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we will discuss about top 10 fascinating historical facts you probably didn't know. Let's get started. 1. The Middle Ages weren't smelly. When we think of the medieval period, what tends to come to mind? People in stocks? Knights? Smelly peasants covered in dung? Well, contrary to popular imagination, medieval people weren't smelly at all. In fact, medieval Europeans took bathing very seriously. They had whole bathhouses specially designed to wash in. It wasn't always easy to keep clean in medieval times, but they viewed being clean with lots of importance. Later people, like the Georgians and the Tudors, might not have been so hygienic though. 2. People used to lock up their tea. You might think people love tea today, but the lengths they went to in Stuart and Georgian Britain was a bit bonkers. Back then, tea was imported from China and therefore very expensive, and only the rich could afford it. It was so expensive, in fact, that special tea boxes were made with locks on them, so no one could steal your tea. It was always kept where the mistress of the house could see it, which is why tea making becomes such an occasion. You wouldn't trust your servants to make you a cuppa. Would you lock up your Yorkshire gold tea bags today? 3. Napoleon wasn't that short. If you know one thing about Napoleon, you know that he was short. Except he wasn't. He was actually 5'6", which was the average height for men of the time. He was probably made fun of as little in propaganda pictures by his enemies to make him seem less powerful, but Napoleon himself was no shorter than most men. He also liked to surround himself with very tall soldiers, which probably made him look smaller too. 4. Britain once banned Christmas. Can you think of anything worse? But it's true, between 1644 and 1660, War Protector Oliver Cromwell, a sort of unelected prime minister, banned the celebration of Christmas. Cromwell was a Puritan, a sort of very strict Christian who believed that fun things like dancing, music, and even makeup were sinful and upset God. Unsurprisingly, this wasn't very popular and there were even riots over it. The English might not have liked it, but the Scots weren't as bothered. In Scotland, there was no Christmas celebration from 1640 until 1958. Well, it wasn't a public holiday anyway. That means your great-granddad might have had to go to work on Christmas. 5. More than one English king has died on the toilet. Can you think of a more embarrassing way to go? We hate when someone accidentally walks in on us, let alone being found dead on the loo. The first English king to die on the loo was King Edmund in 1016, who got stabbed to death while doing his business. In 1216, exactly 200 years later, King John died on or near his loo from dysentery. Then in 1760, King Georgiou also went to his maker whilst on the porcelain throne. And King Henry died in 1135 after gorging on lamprey, a kind of river eel, which means he probably had a bit of toilet trouble. If you want to find out even more about historical toilet deaths, Wikipedia actually has a page about it. 6. A pope once declared a war on cats. You might not be a cat person, but you surely can't hate them as much as Pope Gregory IX. Between 1233 and 1234, Gregory, who was leader of the Catholic Church, had a lot of power, decreed that cats were agents of Satan and should be destroyed, maybe once scratched up his sofa real bad. This led to a mass killing of the poor moggies, which in turn probably led to an outbreak and plague. Now there weren't as many cats around to kill rats. Nice work, Gregory. Not 7. Halloween is historically Scottish and Irish. You might think of Halloween as a very American import to the UK and the rest of the world. Trick-or-treating, dressing up, telling spooky stories. But it actually has its origins in Scotland and Ireland. Halloween is an old Scots word for All Hallows' Eve, a Christian holy day with its origins in the earlier pagan Samhain. On Halloween, Scottish and Irish people would dress up in spooky masks and costumes to scare away evil spirits, carve turnip lanterns, and go guising, in disguise, to collect food and drink from neighbors. Robert Burns even wrote a poem called Halloween in 1785. Even today, trick-or-treating is known as guising in Scotland, Ireland, and some parts of northern England. 8. The real story of Thanksgiving is a bit of a bummer. The U.S. celebration of Thanksgiving is traditionally a time for fun, family, and friendship. Unfortunately, a historical Thanksgiving may not have been so great. In 1621, European colonists and local indigenous American people, the Wampanoags, came together to share food, and probably not turkey, more likely some oysters and dried meat. But the peace was a strained one, and in the years that followed, war broke out several times, including the very bloody King Philip's War of 1675, only 50 years later. What's more, the Puritans would have hated today's Thanksgiving and its fun. They preferred sober prayer. 9. France had a completely different calendar after the Revolution. After the French Revolution in 1789, people wanted to get rid of everything that had come before, not just the king, but all the boring bits of life that reminded them of him. They started with the months of the year. No more January, February, March. Now there were months like Germinal, Messidor, Thermidor, and Frimaire. These names indicated exactly what was happening in nature at the time. So Nivose means month of snow. The calendar only lasted until 1806, probably because it was too confusing trying to keep up with the rest of the world. 10. Harriet Tubman used to carry chickens as a precaution. Harriet Tubman is best known today as a brave freedom fighter and abolitionist who fought against slavery in the United States. As an undercover agent helping escape enslaved people, she was known to carry chickens with her. Why? Well, when she thought a slaver might be getting suspicious of her, she would release the chickens and then recapture them. The commotion was so distracting that the slave masters didn't notice who she was. She would also pretend to read a newspaper because enslaved people weren't supposed to be able to read, so she wouldn't be suspected. What do you think about the video? If you enjoyed it, then hit the like button, comment, and subscribe my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.